Are there any specific tasting notes you're looking for?
All right. Hey, everybody. Patrick Johnson here, CEO of Rock, Paper, Reality. Welcome to our very first Reality Reimagined event. And thank you all for joining. For those who might not be in the know, RPR is all about pushing the boundaries of immersive tech for brands and telling stories that matter. As you just saw from our reel, we've had a crazy ride over the last 12 years. From crafting world's first web AR experiences to collaborating with some of the world's top brands and tech companies like Google. And you know what? We're just getting started. So why are we kicking off this new event series? We wanted to meet new people and create a space where we could share not just what's happening in the world of AR, but why it matters for you and your brand. Reality Reimagined is our way of connecting with visionaries, sharing insights, and exploring how immersive tech intersects with real-world impact. And let me go ahead and I'm going to just share my screen real quick. There we go, getting back here. All right. First time using this program, so we're getting comfortable with the UI. Right, so today's topic, in my humble opinion, it's a game changer. We're diving into location-based AR powered by Google Maps, all new AR feature, and it can elevate digital out of home, advertising, storytelling, education, and much more. We've got some incredible speakers lined up for you today, from Google's own Aurora, Straton, Do.com's Daniel Cheetham, to our own in-house creative geniuses. So grab your coffee or your cold beverage, depending on your time zone, and get comfortable. So before we get started, I'd like to make a plug for one other event I'm an organizer for, called AW Unite SF. It's the largest AR meetup in the world with over 5,000 members for the last 7 years. And our next event coming up in November 12th is entirely focused on Snap's all-new spectacles. So if you're in the Bay Area, I highly recommend signing up for our new meetup at the Snap's offices in Palo Alto. You'll get a chance to demo Snap's all-new AR glasses from the Spectacles product team themselves. And finally, I'm a big fan of active events, so please participate by using the comments feature. Say what you're liking, introduce yourself and where you're from, and please drop in your questions throughout the show. I promise I'll have 10 minutes for Q&A after the fireside chat, and you're critical for that part of the show going smoothly. All right. That's it from me, at least from now. Let me go ahead and remove my slides, and I'm going to go ahead and let's bring Sam up to the stage.
Hello.
Hello, Sam. Yeah, Sam Field, RPR's VP of Partnerships. Take it away, Sam.
Okay, thanks, Pat. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Field. As Pat mentioned, Head of Partnerships here at Rock, Paper, Reality. I'm going to talk to you a bit about the project that really inspired this panel. And before I dive into that, I think I just wanted to just establish the fact that right now is a really exciting space to be in XR, right? There are huge announcements worldwide. If you just look at the XR wearables market in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, we've seen big improvements for the Meta Quest 3, and pass-through has really reinvigorated the mixed reality developer community. We've seen the long-awaited launch of the Apple Vision Pro, and as Pat just mentioned, the new Spectacles 5, a big upgrade on the previous model from Snap. And then suddenly, in the middle of the year, along came this guy with his Meta Orion glasses, 70% field of view, an unbelievable.
And really quick, Sam, I think just share your screen because it's not coming through. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's weird. You see it now? Yeah. Yeah, and an incredible, what we're seeing now is really exciting. What we're starting to see is an everyday wearable form factor, within touching distance within the next few years. And I think it's fair to say that now, more than ever, we should be investing in the 3D virtual content that will populate the world around us. And actually, this year's another big announcement, and it was from Google, and it was at Google I/O in May this year. And they announced something that I think is potentially one of the biggest things to ever happen in the space of AR. And it was this. Coming soon in May earlier this year, and actually it did come to Paris in the summer during the Olympics. So why do I think that's such a significant moment? So let's just zoom out a bit before we get into the detail. First of all, I think it's fair to say that location-based content is having a bit of a moment, right? If we consider the rise of digital out-of-home, supported by the innovative 3D anamorphic billboards, if you consider things like virtual or sort of augmented reality, location-based AR virtual concerts, brand activations driven by location-based AR, and we're even seeing new kind of guerrilla marketing content, branded content that's making us question what's real and what's faux. And I think if you start to break down these types of digital location-based content, I think it's really important that we start to just understand what the role is for each of these formats and the role they play in location-based content marketing. On the one end of the spectrum, you've got location-based AR, very, very highly interactive, highly immersive. It is an experience. It's something that you do and you actively participate in. You've got the scale coming from digital out of home. The example on the screen here, really nice one from do.com, and you'll hear from Daniel Cheetham shortly, where they're starting to play with almost augmented formats. You can start to see that the buildings behind that format shining through the underwater for that ad for Audible, offering you scale. Yeah, less immersive, but more passive, but definitely visually dynamic and driving scale. And then obviously a more immersive format in things like anamorphic 3D billboards. And then you've got the other end of the spectrum, which is more passive, essentially guerrilla style branded content, which has the potential for virality in the faux out of home. I would say it's more faux AR, but faux out of home is where we're talking about. And I think it's very important that we consider each of these plays a different role. And it's my belief that actually the location-based AR, i.e. the experience part of the solution, is what we should build our creative around, and let the other elements of it be either traffic drivers, amplification, or a way of shouting about the success of that work. So what is location-based AR? It's an interactive digital experience that overlays virtual content onto the physical world. So again, note that word experience. AR imprints on your brain as something that you did. And that means you're more likely to remember it, more likely to talk about it, more likely to share it than traditional media. And our experience in this space is long lasting. You know, last year we helped Adobe launch their partnership with Google Geospatial at Adobe Max, where we gamified their new creative cascading down the LA Convention Center as people arrived so they could access the day's schedule for this AR experience. We took over Boston with Red Bull, creating these 70-foot augmented reality diving boards that were launched from out-of-home formats across the city. We entertained queues of Formula One fans outside the T-Mobile store on the Las Vegas Strip during the Formula One Grand Prix weekend. We brought to life origami and made it supersized down for a small origami store called Paper Tree in Japantown, San Francisco, and that actually won Best Location-Based Entertainment at the Oggies this year. And we created the world's biggest festive AR scavenger hunt in taking over Times Square and driving 93,000 competition entries in the same moment. So what do all of these kind of location-based experiences have in common? Well, number one, they're geospatially aware, i.e. they recognize the world around them, and you can place augmented reality content onto the real world, one-to-one with real-world integration, brought to life nicely by this Dior experience that was deployed by another agency in Macy's. They are interactive and they're immersive, and they're mobile first, often launched from either a QR code or from a web link or from people on the ground handing out cards to scan and open the experience. And therein lies a challenge or a sticky point, trying to get people into the experience. So the second part to consider is the quality of the AR experience is very much aligned to the quality of your 3D mesh of the world. What does your 3D mesh of the world look like, and how can you overlay content onto that one-to-one? And three of the major players in this space, Niantic, they're getting data from Pokemon Go players, and they also have their product Scaniverse. It allows people to upload their own scans of the environment. Pretty good, but often for a slightly smaller space. Snap have several landmarks activated within their platform, and a handful of city centres require the development to upload new scans. And Google, the subject of today, well, they've got Google Maps, and for the last 15 years, they've been scanning over 100 countries for Street View. That's more than 2,000 cities. That's 263 million 3D buildings that you can then use for Street View. And last year, they launched Geospatial Creator, which meant that developers like us could start to build augmented reality experiences that could be mapped onto these environments one-to-one using visual positioning systems. And we could even start to use these photorealistic 3D tiles to create content. And we saw a number of TV broadcasters using these 3D tiles as their broadcast channel content that helped you jump from one location to another in Paris during the Olympics. Which takes us to the brief and the subject of what we're here to talk about today. And it was a brief to help Google to launch an AR pilot into Google Maps during Paris 2024 for the first time. So this is an app, Google Maps, that has over 1 billion monthly users. And it was a joint effort between Google Arts and Culture, Google AR, VR, and the Google Maps team. So three big parts of the business. And we were lucky enough to be the partner they chose to activate this experience. And it was a really fun and exciting brief. And the team, once we get into the panel, will talk a bit more about this. And Aurora will be able to talk a bit more about this. But really, the idea was that we wanted to help people step back in time into Paris 1900, so the last time Paris hosted the Olympic Games. And at the time, it was the Olympic Games and the Exposition Universelle, which is the World Trade Fair. And along the banks of the Seine and up Champs-Élysées, there was tens of these country pavilions and buildings that were these intricate buildings designed by lots of the major architects and famous architects of the time. They even had plans to redesign and redevelop the Eiffel Tower, like you can see on the right-hand side here. That part of the activation never existed, but every competing nation had a pavilion down the banks of the Seine, and they were only there for 6 months. They knocked them down after 6 months. So we worked with the Google Arts and Culture team, local historians, and World Trade experts to faithfully recreate those buildings and to bring them back to life and integrate it into Google Maps so that people on the ground, on location, like you can see on the left-hand side here, could open Google Maps, tap on the first first image underneath the POI, open their app, open the device, and it scan the location, overlay their content one-to-one in augmented reality. Crucially, if you were outside of 200 meters, anywhere else in the world, it opened in Street View, and you could have the same experience from anywhere in the world in Street View. So, for those at home who would like to just have a quick look at the experience for themselves, please feel free to scan one of the two QR codes. On the left-hand side, you have the 16 Ruder nations, which was happening along the banks of the Seine. And on the right-hand side, you have the Eiffel Tower, and there are two designs there. One, which is Steven Silvestre, who was one of the architects of the Eiffel Tower, his design, and then there's the Colossal Hotel, which is a huge hotel wrapping around the Eiffel Tower, which was pretty incredible ambition at the time. I'll let you just have a look at that. Hopefully that's enough time. And that for me is the real big unlock here. So number one, you've got this opportunity to use Lens in Maps to create these immersive experiences in augmented reality, tapping into that 1 billion plus monthly audience. Secondly, it's more discoverable within that platform because you're on location, you're using Maps as a tourist, and you may find that, but it's shareable and it's viewable within Google Street View. Now, this is a pilot. It's running right now in Paris. It's running to the end of Q1. They are looking for new partners to test this technology with. They're going to add value to the Google Maps community. And they're also doing the same thing in Singapore. And the plan is to roll this out to more cities over the next 12 to 18 months. Those cities haven't been announced yet, but I'm sure we can probably guess what major cities they will be. So my advice to any brands and agencies and people who have access to their POI is to start building experiences using Adobe Aero or Unity so that you're ready to have opportunities to partner with Google Maps and bring these locations to life. Because the use cases really are endless, but if you want to use digital out-of-home formats to launch these experiences and drive footfall in store, just like Miss Dior did in New York with their Macy's partnership, you might want to create limited time drops to encourage and create urgency among your audiences who can only access those offers once they've interacted with this digital experience around the location. You might want to just simply extend the footprint of your existing store, thinking about festive window displays or tentpole moments like Pride and Easter. You might want to just create these really engaging reward mechanics like scavenger hunts and gamification that really entertains your audience and rewards them for their engagement. Or simply go big, make memories, get talent involved. The Google team did a great project with Gorillas where they had a simultaneous virtual concert happening in Times Square, Piccadilly Circus at the same time. But most of all, don't miss maybe the biggest AR announcement ever. Thanks very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Sam. That was amazing, and I will be seeing you around soon. But now, I would like to add Preston Platt to the stage. Preston is a longtime friend, business partner, RPR CTO, and he is going to be the man that gives you a little peek behind the curtain of how you can make this new AR feature experience a reality. All right.
Yeah.
Take it away,
Cool.
Preston.
And my share screen, I hope that is up. I hope we are seeing it. If somebody in a private chat could just be like, hey, it's there, that'd be great. It's right there. Look at that. All right, great. Yeah. As Pat alluded to, I'm CTO over here. For these, RPR event series, I think it's going to be really fun to just kind of give you a peek behind, right? And show some R&D, show some dev. I'm kind of hoping we have some developers, out there watching, having some fun with us. So, let's talk about the project. We had pavilions and we had the Eiffel Tower. So the pavilions were kind of a challenge because this was in the 1900s. So we had very little kind of reference to use, right? So we had kind of like postcards or random drawings or, some artworks that were created. So we had 16 different buildings in various different levels of kind of what we could take as a cultural reference for things. And then for the Eiffel Tower, it was another challenge where ultimately we had drawings. These drawings are kind of in proportion in a way. They're kind of there as like this inspirational thing that they wanted to build at the Eiffel Tower. But taking a step back, which makes this really cool, right? Google Arts and Culture, like dream project, right? We get to bring something that was in the past to life, right? Using the Google Maps platform. And then we get to bring something to life that had not been yet created, which I think the dynamic there is super, super cool. So let's get into the requirements, right? Because this is where things get a little dicey. Had to be a GLB file. So we're using kind of a web render style approach to this. It needed to be kind of compatible with the Aero program, because that's where we're kind of building things. But the big kicker was that it had to be 20 megabytes. Now, if there is any 3D artists in here and we were to do some very simplistic math, 20 megabytes, 16 buildings, you've got like less than 2 megabytes per building, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of oohing and awing and gasps happening currently, because that's what our team was doing at this moment, right? Where we thought, okay, we've got 16 buildings, how are we going to pull this off? Yeah, exactly. Megabytes, wow. Yeah, challenge. So to start off, Sam actually found a great 3D artist that his whole sole entirety of his being was doing 1900s Paris architecture, which was an absolute godsend. So we were able to have somebody who was absolutely obsessive about getting it right give us a first start to this, right? And so that's what you can see on the left here. Great files, right? Very historically accurate, but this is Google. We got to take it, we got to elevate it, we got to do something crazy, right? That's kind of where our heads are at. So what we like to do at the beginning of these projects is take all the dev team together and kind of just go crazy, right? So took the whole dev team, made the first building, and that's what you see here. So you can see it's 760 megabytes, right? So if you do the math, that's not that close to 2 megabytes, right? And 4 million triangles. So this is where we got into kind of the fun, right? We tried every decimation tool you could think of. We're running into problem after problem, getting it nowhere near the right amount. I took a second, took a step back, thought about, the Google Maps platform itself and how well they optimize their content. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, hey, photogrammetry content, right? If we voxelized the buildings into simplistic voxels and then ran compression on that, we could actually get something that was down to a point that could make some sense. So did a Bifrost approach to voxelizing. This wasn't the end result. This is kind of what I could find from my dev diary of this thing. We ended up using a bunch of Blender tools as well. But this voxel approach to then decimation and then transferring the maps, right? So transferring all the detail into texture maps that we applied across the board was how we achieved this result, which was our proof point, right? So we got a GLB file, it's in Aero. It doesn't look great, right? Let's just admit that it doesn't look perfect, but this is all we needed to do to tell ourselves like, this is all we need, right? Like, we can go forward on this project. So that's a big part of it. From there, I want to give a shout out to the overachievers here, Alex, Anna, Norik. They went crazy on this project. They put in countless hours. You are nothing without the team. Yeah, big props to them. But yeah, we went into Substance Painter. So, every single building got a substance file, broken out into many different parts. Everybody stayed up way late at night, grinding out the textures for these things. We didn't want to go too weather because, as Sam alluded to, these things were built quick and then demolished, right? But we did want to give them a sense of realism. This is my favorite one to show. This is the Italian pavilion. I think it just shows off the incredible detail that our team achieved. And then here's another one because wow, right? Really impressive stuff. I was really, really proud of the team. But yeah, I'm going to like a little peek behind the curtain. This one did not go 2 megabytes. I think we gave it 3.5 megabytes. So, we did give it a little leeway because it was our favorite and it was the closest to the actual viewpoint of the experience itself. But yeah, painstaking detail. We went through and did all of them. That was fun and challenging and a good time. As well as Alex kind of went in and went crazy on the detail, and Anna did as well on the detail on all of the towers that were the drawing towers. You can see we really tried to do everything we could. If I put them in relevance, right? Again, these aren't perfectly accurate, drawings that are proportionally accurate. Like, we did our absolute best to get as close as humanly possible. And I'm really proud of the results that we were able to achieve because I think it looks pretty stunning. We hope that these old artists could be proud, right, today. But yeah, then we got into lighting. So I was actually in Paris at the time, and we went out and like, this is the level of detail we went to. We looked at the lighting and how the lighting would hit the buildings. We figured out the kind of best lighting approach that would show off all that detail from our major viewing point. And we were able to get this test running in Aero on location, flush out all the problems. And yeah, it ended up looking great. I have a little video where I chucked the assets into Unity real quick, just so we could have an easy viewable platform. But here they are. Each one is under 2 megabytes, other than obviously the Italian one, which was really awesome. And one thing I didn't allude to that became a little bit of a shock factor was that we had to have the walkways underneath. That added some polygons, that added some texture, which was not expected. But again, we got under, I think our final output was 18 megabytes. So yeah, super fun, really great project. Obviously, you can see all the animation. All the videos that were in the actual final video were all runtime assets, funny enough. So we didn't go and do a bunch of post-processing work. This is how you see it, exactly how it is. So yeah, it was a really good time. I'm going to be obviously here answering questions. If you have any questions or, you know, whatever, hit me up. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. Hope it was fun. And somebody's back. Right. There he is. Cool.
Thank you very much, Preston, for showing how the 3D sausage
is made. Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
Right. Perfect. So let's go ahead and bring Sam back to the stage.
Hello.
And Sam, let's go ahead and get things started for this fireside chat. First up, I'd like to also introduce Aurora Straton, creative lead at Google, and Daniel Cheetham, creative innovation director at do.com and longtime thought leader in AR. Alrighty, I'll let you go. I'll take it away.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pat. Hi, everyone. Right, let's get into it. Aurora, you were the lead client on this. You were instrumental in bringing this to life. Can you give us an idea about what motivated Google Arts and Culture to work on, explore location-based AR in this way?
Sure. So first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me to the panel. And it's just so amazing to see all the work that you've done and relive the process. It's been quite a long process, but we're super, super happy with the results. So what motivated this project? So it all started with the Google Arts and Culture mission, of course, of making arts and culture more accessible to people everywhere. And augmented reality in maps is a great opportunity to democratize culture because of the massive reach of the platform. So imagine you're in Paris, you might be searching for the Eiffel Tower in maps because you want directions to get there. Maybe you want to take a selfie, maybe you want to propose to someone, maybe you are not interested in culture at all, you just want to get there. And you come across this immersive cultural content that takes you back to the 1900s Universal Exhibition. So you get to see all these amazing sketches taking shape right in front of you. Or we haven't talked about Versailles yet, but in the case of Versailles, which is a different side of this project, you might be looking for Versailles in Street View. You can't get to Versailles, but with this technology, you're able to see an X-ray view of the interiors. So you can really see how leveraging AR in maps, live view, to make culture more accessible and interesting and immersive and contextually relevant when you're there in front of a cultural monument, as well as when you're not there, you can still have the same kind of immersive experience in Street View.
Yeah, brilliant. And yeah, the Palace of Versailles example is great because you get this kind of X-ray view inside parts of the palace that you may never get access to, and yeah, we'll if someone shares the full behind the scenes video in the chat, they'll see some of that Palace of Versailles content as well. So somebody would be on that surely. Daniel, so you're an immersive technology expert by trade historically, right? Happy Finish and all of the time previously, and now you're working for do.com, so very much in the digital out of home space. How do you see AR transforming or augmenting the the out-of-home landscape?
Yeah, thanks, Sam. It's actually really interesting because, you know, I've been working with augmented reality and immersive technologies for, I guess I'm a dinosaur in the space, you know, well over a decade now, and have now the past year found myself working within the Group M and WPP ecosystem, thinking about how brands activate outside of the home. So of course, you know, the LED volumes, the big digital screens that you would traditionally think about in Times Square or here in London are a great location to appeal to a mass audience, but it's a one-way message. I think what we're starting to see traction on is brands understanding that through geospatial augmented reality, location-specific augmented reality, there's the opportunity to create more of an interactive experience and a sort of jump-off point into a sort of longer tail digital experience, brand experience. We're seeing brands starting to understand this at this point in time. And, you know, I think it was referenced earlier, I think Preston mentioned it and you said it yourself, Sam, that you need to encourage people to understand that this content exists as a layer over the real world. Of course, the billion-plus users of Google Maps is a great starting point for that. It's a perfect signpost to POIs on Google Maps. But so is the real-time nature of a billboard or digital screen outside of the home. It's a great trigger to allow people to know that there is something there for them to engage with and interact with.
Great, yeah. I think pairing the two is a really exciting space to be. So do you think how sort of pairing location-based AR with digital out of home, what kind of new opportunities do you see for brands and advertisers?
There are certainly different considerations around the type of content and experience that you would create, right? So I think brands have to understand that when they're creating an interactive experience, because as soon as you're engaging augmented reality, you are interacting, you're using your mobile device for the moment to mediate between yourself and the world around you. You're truly interacting. That needs to be, you know, it needs to give a commensurate payback to the user, as opposed to a 30-second or 10-second piece of animation that is deployed on a digital LED screen, which is very much about getting that message across, and it's repeat that message at the right time, at the right place for recall. When you're dealing with interactivity, you really need to make sure you're giving something back to the user that they feel has true value to them. And
yeah,
that's a great opportunity for brands as well. I look at it a little bit more like ad-funded experiences as opposed to advertising.
Yeah, that kind of experiential moment that you get, I think is really a really important part, and it kind of inspires the people to actually lean in and actively participate rather than just be something that's passive. And from a creative perspective, Aurora, what was there a moment? Was there one sort of thing that inspired the concept you had for the AR content?
Yeah, so like most creative solutions that spring from a lot of constraints, really tech constraints to begin with, which can actually be seen as opportunities as well. So this is a pilot. The technology is not available yet, and this pilot is only available in Paris and Singapore. So we needed to have an idea for Paris to begin with. And from a concept perspective, we really wanted to have a story that first is contextually relevant. Why are we doing this story in maps and AR in maps and not using another technology? So it had to fit the context, if you want. We're talking about culture, but we were really looking for those cultural moments that people can still connect with today at scale. So very important to have an idea that really captures the zeitgeist and connects with people all around the world, not just Parisians, let's say. And of course, this year we had the Olympics in Paris. The 1900s Universal Exhibition happened at the same time with the first modern Olympics that took place in Paris. So very nice connection there. So at this moment, we knew we had a good starting point. And we really wanted to capture this zeitgeist, this spirit of excellence, and the idea that everything is possible. I mean, you showed those original pavilions, you know, they have been built just for 6 months and then they were destroyed. And they are just like amazing, incredible constructions. First, when I saw them, I thought, okay, it looks like something you generate with Gen AI tools, you know, even those modifications of the Eiffel Tower, that colossal hotel, you think, oh my God, is this something someone generated with an LLM? No, this is actually coming from people in 1900s. Oh my God, like this, imagine seeing those stories in front of you with the real scale. I mean, of course, in Street View is great, but when you are there in front of the Eiffel Tower, which is huge, and these pavilions, which were huge as well, and you're standing on Pont de l'Alma or Pont des Invalides, you're overlooking the lake, and then you see them coming to life. It's just such a beautiful experience. So we were looking for those type of stories. I personally did a lot of research on the Google Arts and Culture platform, which is an editorial platform. So I was looking at different monuments, cultural sites in Paris, and really trying to dig some stories. So it's not like coming up with an idea from scratch, but trying to find a concept, a historical moment, and then thinking how it can be relevant for the technology and for people to connect with. And then from a tech perspective, we were also looking for how we can leverage AR to augment existing monuments. So for the Eiffel Tower, you have the Eiffel Tower, and then you augment the Eiffel Tower with the Colossal Hotel and with those two other towers. Yeah. So augmenting something that exists in the real world that you can see, whereas with the pavilions is really bringing to life some monuments that don't exist anymore, that only lasted for a limited amount of time. So you can really see the value of the technology there and how we can bridge the physical and the digital worlds in a very seamless way. And that's the power of design and 3D and making everything look real within the 20 megabytes size limit as well. So congrats for that.
I think that's a really, I love seeing really great use cases for augmented reality, because sometimes you see the things that probably don't need to be in augmented reality, and other stuff you just like, wow, that's a great use case. So I always think scale is a great use case, seeing the unseen is a great use case, bringing something back that used to be there is a great use case. The Versailles one, the kind of X-ray vision of the Versailles example is great. Daniel, do you, in terms of kind of the brands that you work with across the agency landscape, what do you see the value for brands versus more traditional experiences? Do you think that brands right now kind of appreciate the value of this technology? And if not, where are the gaps to be filled, do you think?
Okay. Yeah, it's a loaded question, Sam. We're in an era, this we hear, and you guys have probably heard, and everyone here listening has heard this, that we're in the age of experience. Or I heard it referred to as the age of re-enchantment recently, whereby we live in a pretty uncertain world, right? There's a lot happening. There's a generation that's grown up with interactivity and expecting interactivity through games and through mobile devices and touch screens and smart devices. So when experiential and brands delivering experiences is definitely hot right now. I think that's well understood. Even in retail, we see retail changing into more of an experience-based activity as opposed to just going and purchasing something in a store. So all roads are leading to this point where people expect a brand to entertain them in a way, to give them something more than just doing what they say they're going to do around their product. When it comes to geospatial AR, clearly that's an opportunity for brands to deliver an experience beyond expectation. However, I think many just don't know. Many are not aware of what's possible. From experience, you know, I'm bringing the opportunity to deliver something geospatially to brands. I'm mentioning it in lots of meetings, and for many, it's the first time they're aware that it's even possible. So we're still really early with this, and I also think, and I love the projects that you guys have been working on for Google Arts and Culture, and I love the fact it's editorial and it's educational, and I think that's really important because, you know, advertisers thinking about how to get their brand, the message in front of you in this very immersive and engaging way, beyond, without there being editorial content. I think it could be very challenging for the space. You know, they both have to work in unison, and I think we're a little bit in a chicken and egg phase there at the moment. So I think it's really important that people are creating content for content's sake that lives geospatially outside of the home.
Yeah, that's a great point. Is that a lot of the space has been led by brands and brand messaging, and yeah, the need for creators and the need for editorial style content in this space, I think, is great. Aurora, I mean, you must work with a lot of brands who kind of are active in the space and creators in the space. So how do you envisage brands and creators harnessing the Google Maps AR capabilities? Like, what are your partners and your clients, what are they asking for in this space?
Yes, I mean, of course, I'm seeing big opportunities in the retail space. So any brand that has a physical presence in the real world, they own that storefront, they own that physical space that people can see in the real world. They have a shop window where they can put some instructions. So, you know, of course, retail is huge, but also travel. So, you know, travel brands that can enable better local discoveries. Anything around, you know, local tours. That's of course a very interesting space as well. And the team has done some interesting activations in Singapore in collaboration with the Singapore tourism board. So of course it's a no-brainer for tourism boards, but also travel brands. And I'm seeing a lot of potential in the entertainment space. So think about the gaming industry, think about the film industry, any industry that already has content. Now you have the ability to give that content a second life and recontextualize the content and imagine new stories. A long time ago, we did a project at Google called Play the World, and it was for Google Play. And of course, it was the same principle, but different technology. It was a website at the time, but you could see snippets from Amélie Poulain, for example, in Montmartre. So you're navigating through Montmartre, and you can see scenes from the film perfectly aligned within the environment. So you already have the content. You just want to bring it into another context. So yeah, a lot of potential and exciting space there too.
That's really interesting. So you're seeing a lot more brands really thinking about not just their brand, but the environment and the partners and the sort of like the tourism and landmarks that they're kind of inhabiting. Are they a little bit more kind of editorially kind of branded content, editorially minded now, more so than just this is our brand, we want to just showcase our brand, you think? Or...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it has to be that way, I think. Otherwise, people would skip it. Or as a hook, you need a good storytelling hook. You need to provide, a value to the user, either in terms of entertainment, usefulness, education, really trying to understand the user mindset at a specific moment in time and what the intention is, and then think how you as a brand, based on your brand values, brand positioning, tone of voice, how you can distill that down into an experience that makes sense for people and people actually want to engage with and not skip. And then maybe further down the line, we didn't mention the fact that you can have info cards in maps. So you are experiencing this AR thing, you like it, you might want to share it. And then you have an info card that explains to you what it is with a call to action. And this is the moment when you click on the call to action and you can go on a website where you can find out more about the experience, learn more, which is what we did with the Google Arts and Culture project. But why not buy a product? But I don't think that product should come up front when people engage with a contextual story. I don't feel it makes sense.
So it could even form a kind of a teaser for a bigger immersive experience after, post-click. If the 20 megabytes could be your teaser content. If you want to go bigger, if you enjoyed this, let's go deeper. And you might have to wait longer for it to download, or you might need to download an app. But you've given them a teaser content, so not to just think about it as everything has to be done in that 120 megabytes. So Daniel, in terms of kind of brands wanting to, or agencies, or anyone who wants to get involved in this type of tech, have you got any kind of best practices that people should bear in mind?
Right. Firstly, Aurora has just done an outstanding job of answering the first part of that question, because it's about if you're asking somebody to interact with your brand, you're delivering experience, do not just deliver an advert to them off the bat. Do not just tell them about your products. I mean, in fact, that will probably end up being a negative, being a negative brand experience for the consumer. You would have wasted their time. And I think we're talking about the type of brands that tell stories already, and the entertainment brands that have IP that people are interested in, or luxury brands that are already maybe culturally aligned with arts and culture in some way that gives them the right to be in a specific location. I think, you have to think about giving something back to the user that is valuable. One of the challenges, and this has come up a number of times recently, is how to, and we saw the meticulous detail that the team at RPR went to create those assets and to think about optimizing those assets. Many brands want to reach people in multiple locations, multiple cities, nationwide, continent-wide, worldwide. And the budgets, the real world parameters, budget and time, which equals resource, how to deploy something across, let's say, 50 cities in the United States at once, when you need to think highly contextually about those assets and how they mix and blend with the reality there. It can be quite an overwhelming thing to think about, is how do we do this? But of course, we're seeing generative AI as an opportunity there. We're not quite there in terms of being able to adapt assets autonomously, let's say, for context. But you can see a pathway to where that happens, and it allows that sort of scale. So, for landmarks, for locations that people are very familiar with, this makes a whole heap of sense. Being careful not to infringe upon IP, of course, which is another topic we could probably spend hours talking about.
Great. Okay. Making sure you have the permission and the right permissions to deliver the campaign. Absolutely. And in terms of some technical considerations, Aurora, is there anything that your teams needed to kind of prioritize in order to get these types of experiences away that you can think of that we've not really covered? We may have covered it.
We did talk about the file size limit. We've only created 3D immersive experiences for this project, but when it comes to bringing AR content in maps, it doesn't necessarily have to be 3D. It can also be video, perfectly aligned in the context. It can be photography as well, so historical archives. Now, with all the tools that we have at our disposal, we can cut out characters from photos, we can upscale them, we can make them move. We can think of all these different modalities. We can play with sound, music. So any modality really that can help create a contextually rich experience. I think creators have a lot of freedom these days in terms of how to bring this type of experiences to life. So I would encourage people to think beyond 3D, because 3D, of course, takes time. It is a great experience, but it's not the only experience.
Brilliant.
Can I ask a question, Aurora, in terms of something that I'm really interested in and something I've been playing? So we were working with Niantic for a couple of years prior to me taking this role. And the idea of allowing users to generate their own augmented reality content is something that really landed with us. And how far away do you think we are from the general user being able to create their own augmented reality content that lives geospatially? And that could be audio, it could be sound that you position in a particular place for other people to listen to. It could be 3D, much harder, it could be photos. Do you see a pathway for that happening quickly?
I mean, I'd love to see that happening. I don't think it's going to happen quickly. I think the product, will scale in different ways. I don't think user-generated content is a priority in terms of the product roadmap. But I would love I would love to be able to see that for sure. Thinking about maps as a platform that can collect all these stories and democratizing the ability to bring the stories to life. Yes, I'd love to see that.
And it might be that something that can exist if you think about the 2D maps integrations you can build for Google Maps now with web. It might be something that actually gets built outside of the Maps platform, but uses all the toolkits, 3D tiles, augmented reality, and actually lives as a web experience that's brought to you by editorially or by a brand or by something like that. So that's great idea.
We'll have channels, right? We'll have layers. We'll have layers and channels that exist, that you can choose from potentially in future. I guess who curates the virtual world that lives across the physical world is an interesting question.
Yeah, I think it's video is a great opportunity as well, because if you are travel brand or tourism board and you want to work with travel influencers, for example, and they already have content around specific locations, maybe you need, in any case, an authority to moderate and curate that content. I don't think you can leave it completely free, but I think there are different ways that this could actually happen.
It's very exciting.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you, both of you. A brilliant insight from two different perspectives, but I think we're going to jump into the Q&A now. So, Hamid.
Yeah, let me bring everybody back to the stage. We can kind of do a little bit of Q&A before Pat wraps up. We've got maybe 7 minutes left or so, but thanks guys so much for that fireside panel. That was super interesting to dive into. Let's start. There's quite a few technical related questions that I think, Preston, you might be best suited to run with. Yeah. I'll let you start there. I can tee up a couple more as well.
Yeah, great. So we have our start over here, which I'm just going to kind of run through. So animation, how does it impact file size? It can impact file size. It actually was kind of a null issue for us. At the end of the day, we're running through Arrow, which is great. So a lot of things, we were doing some kind of crazy animations, and Aurora actually was like, whoa, we're being a little crazy here. We should bring this down a little bit, which actually worked out great and benefited us for the actual file size. So we ended up doing a lot of animations that were occlusion-based animations. So one animation piece that moved through that de-occluded things, right? So can we experience using Okay, yeah. So with the experience we did, we used a Arrow workflow for it. Now, obviously, I'm not the Maps technical side, right? I can't speak for Maps itself. I can just kind of speak on what we did. And I can tell you that using Arrow and using geospatial inside of Arrow was like very, very important for this entire process flow, right? So if you want to kind of get a precursor into this whole world, use Arrow, use GeoMaps, integrated geospatial, and also do it in Unity, right? Like get your hands in it, which is great. Could we dive into the 3D assets? Yes, you could in theory run these in first person. Obviously not inside of the Maps platform currently today, but obviously within these apps within these 3D files being GLBs, you can show those GLBs in any sort of headset, right? If you have a GLB style viewer, which is fantastic. Promote these AR experiences. So obviously when it comes to Google Maps and promoting these, I think they talked a little bit about that. I think talk to the Maps team and we'll see where that goes from there. As Sam alluded to, having the Maps APIs available, you can do a lot with that, right? So I would just take a look at Google I/O and the Maps APIs that are available and kind of get creative on the thought process of what you can do there for now. Was it all built in Aero? Yes, it was all built in Aero. What buildings and countries are coming next? We don't know. Great question. Ask Aurora. Would you like to give us a sneak peek that maybe you can do? What else do we have here? We've got anchor issues with model drift. No, at the end of the day, we ended up going on site. Now, I will say that if you're doing a Google Maps API integration to anything, whether it's Unity or Aero or whatever it might be, I would go to the location and make sure you test it. Altitude, which is the the y-axis, is the only thing that can be potentially a little off that I would go look into.
Really quick, Preston, just given we got a couple minutes, just want to ask, launch into a few non-technical questions and maybe just throw a couple of those into the. So there was a few just questions about Headworn and, thinking about the storytelling side of it. What new opportunities around Headworn might there be for brands, for storytelling, for education that, maybe currently exist on the phone but are a little bit too clunky? How is Headworn going to help with the proliferation and storytelling of this content, do you think?
Daniel.
Yeah. I've worked with, I was working with HoloLens 1, HoloLens 2, many of the mixed reality eyewears that have been available to date. Always a little bit too clunky for consumer adoption. We're starting to see a pathway towards devices that will be used out in the wild regularly. It's definitely coming. I won't say put a timeline because I always get it wrong. But I love the idea of narratives that intersect your life at unexpected moments. If I'm in the back of an Uber or I'm at a particular place, that a narrative can accompany me through my existence. And I think we'll start to see that. Whether that's a brand's place to play or more of a, maybe something we'll see coming from Hollywood or the sort of creators that are used to creating narratives like that, or the game studios, probably the front runners for this. If you could think about GTA 12 coexisting with your world. But anyway,
nice.
Love that.
And maybe, Aurora, if you had any thoughts on, I know there was a ton of questions around just how to maybe not just what is kind of your current process when it comes to creating content for the public space around whether it's permissions or access and how it's actually deployed. I know that's a whole kettle of fish when it comes to the bigger conversation, but maybe just today, what are some of your considerations around it?
So for the project that we built together, of course, we worked with Google Arts and Culture and Google Arts and Culture partners, and we defined the use cases together with the partners. So it was a collaboration with École Polytechnique for the pavilions and with the Eiffel Tower institution and with Versailles. So I think any kind of experience that you want to build on top of the real world, especially if the real world is, an iconic institution, you need to work together with that institution.
Amazing. Well, you know what? I think we ran out of time. It just absolutely flew by. But I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Aurora, Daniel, Sam, Preston for sharing their insights, time, and passion around immersive storytelling and this new amazing feature. I hope this deep dive into location-based AR and Google Maps has sparked some new ideas and excitement for what's possible with immersive tech. And before we wrap up, I just want to leave you with a few things. If you're interested in how AR could transform your brand or your next big campaign, reach out to us at hello@rockpaperreality.com. We'd love to give you a personalized demo and discuss opportunities around your goals. And please add us on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can add the speakers on LinkedIn as well and find them. But yeah, I've really enjoyed spending time with everybody today. Thank you so much for being active in the comments. There's nothing worse than crickets, and everybody was being very, very active. So thank you again for being part of our first Reality Reimagined virtual event, and look forward to seeing you next time. Adios.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.